You know, I've been thinking, I've been thinking something recently. Is that what if I am asleep? What if I am the stupid one, the ignorant one? Now, when I'm saying this, I don't mean like, oh, I hate myself, poor me, or it's like not like that. It's more like, you know, I am, like most of us are, so sure, that I am right. I have the right opinion. I am informed, I am objective. I am not too biased. I am so convinced that I am right. But what if I'm not? Like, what if I'm wrong? Um, I'm saying this because, you know, I could have a fight with someone or an argument, or you could have the same. And like you're so sure that you got it right. You don't think you're brainwashed, and you don't think that you're affected by your emotions. You think that you see things clearly, but you might not. I think this tendency we have to think that we are the right ones is naive and kind of arrogant. Sometimes it's good to be arrogant, or at least entertaining, but it is kind of narrow-minded in a way. Like, I remember when I was 21, I came to Japan, and being 21 and from Denmark, my mindset was like very, individualism is awesome. Just say whatever you want, and yeah, politeness is overrated and stuff like that. But then, over the years, I've come to appreciate their perspective a little bit more. Like the whole idea of collectivism, and it's not that you have to fit in by being like them, but it is that there are certain rules that you have to play by. In Japan there are a lot of rules, and yeah, some of them suck by my standard. But it's that arrogance, that arrogance of, oh, I know better. Oh, no, 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 you're wrong. I know the answer. Right? Like, it's not so terrible because we all feel it, and it is human. Like, we want to feel certain that we are doing the right thing. But yeah, it is a shame. It is a shame because we kind of miss sight. Like, I've been following this channel, actualize.org. Maybe some of you guys know it too. And it talks a lot about, relativism, like things are a matter of perspective. And it's true, right? Like, we all know it, but we forget it. Like, we're like, yeah, yeah, like they have their opinions too, but I'm only gonna listen to my own. It's like we we say that we appreciate other people's perspective, and we say that we hear their side of the story, but really we don't. Right? And I think it's so obvious when you talk about, well, anything, like a social issue, a political issue, it becomes so apparent that people only hear what they want to hear, you know? And then, like, they hear the other person's argument and they just, try to look for holes in their argument. They're like, well, actually, you said this thing, you're contradicting yourself, instead of just listening, right? Because they don't really care. Like most of us, we don't really care to have a good discussion, a good conversation where we're really exchanging ideas. Like, we just want to show to the other person how wrong they are, and then we can kind of boost ours. It shouldn't be that way. It's the ego, It's like we want that security. I mean, we want to feel safe, and it's very threatening. Like, it's very threatening to me if I say something, and then you're like, no, that's not true. I'm like, yeah, 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 it's very true. It's very true. Don't threaten my, my idea or my ideology. Um, so it's like we have to defend ourselves, and we love to tell ourselves that, oh, I am logical, I am rational. But really, like, are we really that? And it's also like, we are at a good place right now in history, at least in Western culture, right? Like, we, generally speaking, there's democracy and equal rights are more and more of a thing. Like, it's generally going pretty well. But then, we look back at history and we laugh at people. We think they're evil because they had slaves, and for sure, having slaves is a bad thing. Like, it's inhuman, it's racist, etc. It's bad. But the people at the time, they didn't know any better. Like it was just the norm. And I am certain that there are things we're doing today that in 100 or 200 years, people will be looking back and they're like, that's barbaric. What the hell was that? It could be any number of things, but we don't know. And that's the whole thing. Like, what if we are all asleep? And I'm not trying to sound like Buddha or someone who's like super enlightened or smart, but it's just like, there is the option, there's the possibility that we don't know. Right? And like, that's what's so dangerous, because when you think you have the answer, when you think you found it, then you stop looking or you stop examining yourself. You're like, well, I feel pretty confident with this theory I have. I'm not gonna ask any more questions, kind of like that. So yeah, I think that's how it is, But generally speaking, for myself, like, I have curiosity. Like, I am, someone who seeks new perspectives and stuff. But even when I do, I can feel like there's something somewhere in my mind that's trying to, make the new theory fit with what I already know. There's something in psychology called assimilation or accommodation, and I'm not going to explain it to you guys here, but like, you can look it up, and it's something to do with when you hear something new, something that could change your perspective. Are you going to change your view based on that? Are you going to let that affect your opinions, or are you going to like kind of adjust this new information so it fits with what you already know? Obvious example would be someone who's religious, and they keep seeing proof or examples of their book being incorrect, like factually or scientifically incorrect, and they don't want to face that, right? But it's easy to like pick on religious people. It's not really fair either, I think. I think we all have, some biases with different things. Maybe it's not religion, maybe it's not something that's universally frowned upon, but we all have something where we are so blind. Like, we all have some ideology. For me, that would be rationalism. Like, I'm so fucking annoying with that. I'm sure some people think I'm very annoying. Like, oh, I am logical, or I'm making sense, and you're not making sense, and therefore I win. Like, that also forgets to take other things into account, like intuition. So like, we're missing out a lot, and you might have some other ideology. Maybe you're a hardcore capitalist or feminist or stoicist or Buddhist. Like, no matter what you are missing something. And that's the fucking thing, like, no matter what your ideology is, you're going to miss out. Like there's something you're not seeing because you have been using your ideology as a vehicle to kind of get you somewhere, like goals, give you a certain feeling, you have a view of the world and you want to support that view. So, you don't really think in, the absolute truth. You're more like, no, what fits with what I already know. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, we believe things that make sense to us, that make us feel good. And that's why we are not really so interested in truth as we think we are. And we all might be asleep, in one way or another. But back to the point that, like, we're all missing something. If you're a businessman and let's say then you're also a hardcore capitalist, then you're only going to see, the truth in, words or slogans like, yeah, work hard, like, do your best, don't be a bitch, like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, let the market decide, and of course you're missing a lot of arguments against the free market. Or if you're an atheist, then you're so like hyper rational and you think people are stupid for believing in anything supernatural or superstitious. You're like, oh, you're such an idiot. Why do you believe in that? And of course, what the atheist here is missing is that that religious person, or that person who believes in God, is getting something out of it. Like, they are benefiting from their faith. They pray, like maybe they go to church, or like they have some joy because of that. Like, it's not just this stupid thing. Like, there's no religious person, who wakes up like, oh, I feel really stupid today. Maybe I'm gonna go to church. Like, that's not gonna happen. It's, of course, nobody would be aware that they're stupid, but like, that's not how it is. And they're not doing it to piss you off. They just want some kind of joy or relief in their life. Everybody has different motives, and people are religious to different degrees and extents, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, it's not this terrible thing that some atheists make it out to be. And I used to be like that, kind of. I mean, I used to be that angry atheist, but thank God I don't want to say I toned it down. It was just like a gradual phase of acceptance, kind of like coexistence. Like, well, okay, people can believe what they want as long as they don't try to force other people to do the same or to do something else. Forcing and coercion is bad. So yeah, but we're all missing something. The Buddhist monk, if you live in celibacy, that's fine, more power to you if you can do that. But then you don't really have an understanding, at least if you're still a virgin and all that. You don't really have an understanding of how relationships work. Like, you just don't. You can talk about being detached, no desire, no pain, no loss, all that. But you're going to miss out on the fact that, most people are not Buddhist monks. So you will have to address them differently. So we're all missing something. No matter how wise you are, you're always going to be either too narrow-minded or too open-minded. Being too much of a relativist is also a thing. People who say, well, everything is the same and every perspective is equally important. No one is right, no one is wrong. Like, that's also a kind of a way out. That's, some people will say that, oh, it's all the same. Like, there's no difference, right? And it feels good. It feels good to have that view, but they're being false equivalence, and that's also a mistake. Like, if you want to get to the truth or anything, whatever. So yeah, we're all missing something, something that, due to our perspective, we're not seeing. It's just like that, It's inevitable, because your brain is not a fucking computer. I mean, you could say that it is metaphorically, but it's not. Like, you have biological drives. You have things you want. You have things that you don't want. Like, right now. The whole world is in a situation, I think you all know what I'm talking about, where we don't really have the opportunity or the chance to see our friends or family or travel. And you can be sure that is affecting someone's perspective. It's hard to think clearly when you are not having your needs fulfilled, like social needs or sexual needs or whatever it is, or you just feel stuck. Like, it's going to affect you. So that's the thing. Like, how wise can you be when you're under pressure? How clear-minded can you be when things are not really going your way? That's the thing, right? But that's the other point, because I'll say, and I was going to use this in another video, but I'll just say now, is that when you are in pain or under stress or duress or anything like that, anything that makes you weaker in a sense, you're not going to think clearly. I mean, you might reach the conclusion, that's right, but that's, usually by coincidence. Like, you're going to think short term, or you're going to be short-sighted and maybe kind of self-centered. Like, your thinking is survival based. Like, if you're broke, you just want to make some money and you take some job that, I don't know, maybe you pollute a river, or you sell fucking tobacco, which is terrible. Like, overall terrible for the world in that sense. It's not good for the world. So, that person, and I've been there. I mean, it's shit. It ain't funny. I've been in some bad place. I've tasted desperation. So, like, when you are there, you don't really have the luxury or even the ability. You don't have the ability to see clearly. You're not even close to being awake. You're just trying to get by. So, but of course, when you are there, you don't think about philosophy much. Like, you don't think about the bigger picture or truth or virtues or anything like that. And this doesn't happen. So, that's usually how it is. But I don't know. I just think it's so interesting that we are all missing something. but we can also help each other. Like there's something I know that you don't, and then there's something you know that I know, and like vice versa. We can all help each other. And I think that's what the big debate is about, talking about ideas. Now, there are some people who say they want to talk about ideas, like they're the battle of ideas or the big exchange, and don't censor it, like stuff like that. But in reality, what they want to do is promote their own ideas and then bash the ones that they don't agree with. So, that's also a common thing. And then they cry or scream or whatever that like other people are not letting them express themselves when all they have is an echo chamber, right? Because echo chambers are so fucking common. It's very common, right? Because we want to be validated. Like if I have a view, if I think that what could it be? Stem cell research is super important, right? Let's say I that was my opinion. Then for sure I would want to talk to someone who could validate that. Could say, "You're right, Thomas. That is so true." It's much more pleasing to talk to that person than someone who disagrees with me. Right? So I don't want to be challenged. Like, I mean, I do, but I have a part of me that doesn't. It's like, no, don't do that. It's uncomfortable. And we are creatures of comfort, and creatures of habit. It's just like, we can't deny it. We really can't. And I think it's an illusion to think that we are all objective and without bias, because we always have it, and it's impossible to not have it. Actually, bias doesn't have to be a bad thing because it gives you a shortcut. Maybe you have an optimist bias, but it can help you, or you have a pessimist bias, but in some situations that can help you. Those are just two classic biases. There are so many, right? There's like confirmation bias that can, I generally find it non-conducive to happiness, but whatever, confirmation bias is what works for some people. So yeah, these are just some of the thoughts I'm having. I don't have the final answer, of course, obviously, I'm just a dude sitting here talking about stuff. But I hope that you feel inspired after listening to this, and maybe you can talk to your friends or the people you know, or just talk to yourself, like, am I really awake, or am I asleep just like everybody else, Because how do we know? How do we know who's right? Like, sure, certain factual matters, did this happen or did it not? Yeah, you can settle that. But like the big picture, ideologically, understanding things, the wholeness or the entirety of something, that's different. Like whether it's politics or religion or life philosophy or anything. And I think it's arrogant to assume that anyone is like holding all the answers, I'm not saying being arrogant is so bad, but it does limit your understanding, right? Because being arrogant, it's almost like being arrogant is you want to feel good right away. You want to like put out any kind of uncertainty. You don't want to be uncertain or insecure about anything. So you're just like, yeah, okay, this is what I think, and that's it. And when you make decisions, that's good. But when it comes to understanding the world, it's another. So yeah, I love talking about this. It's been very fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Subscribe, help me grow this little, very small channel, and keep thinking, keep philosophizing, and keep being awesome. See you guys.